Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is our Rise News analyst, Emmanuel Ifeni, the great Malabite.
Good morning, Ruben.
Action.
Good morning, Vimbai.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rufai.
Morning.
That was a smoking interview with the Commodore.
Yeah, one for the record books.
Yes. Intellectual, top naval brass, diplomat, intelligence chief, all rolled in one. Can imagine what his students will be getting as he's now a lecturer. But I'm sure the authorities will be looking at some of the suggestions he made there in that interview. One for the history books for the records. Now, we'll start the review with These Days, Nigeria's newspaper of record. We'll start with the story below the masthead. In view of nation's current mood, President calls off 72nd birthday activities on Friday to use day to rededicate himself to building more stable, secure, prosperous, united Nigeria. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be 72 on Friday, but he has decided to put a hold on all celebrations, including people placing adverts here and there, and has directed that he should rather save the money to help the needy in view of the mood of the country. Well, we can't attach too much to that. The president's birthday, the president has decided to take these measures. I'm sure it will add some positives to the optics out there, because it will have been somehow to see the president celebrating when there's so much insecurity in the land. But you want to say it's a good decision, but not one that should really bother too many people. But made the front page of This Day and the lead story of some other newspapers. Now, the lead story of This Day: Tinubu federal government states collaboration facilitated release of abducted school children. Says schools must be safe, secure for learning. Kaduna governor salutes NSA military. Nigerians declares 168 pupils kidnapped, 168 released. Excited parents say news relieving. Defense headquarters joint security operation freed the kids. Abbas, Atiku, Obi, others hail development. Well, we just stay with the celebration, especially for the parents of these children that have been released. But the number, of course, we heard our correspondent on ground, Nisi Gabriel, quoting the Kaduna State Governor, 137 released, and those are just the numbers taken away. Whereas when these children were taken away, we're talking about 287. Now, These Day report is quoting the figure 168 released. Also quoting the government sources, 168 kidnapped, 168 released. Well, when these children get to their parents, eventually, later today, those whose children are not complete will definitely cry out if there are any such cases. Those whose children are not among will also cry out if there are any such cases. So we just live with this figure in the meantime and see how the actual numbers that will be handed over to families, and I'm sure the school should have a say on this. If all the children taken away who have been out of school who have not been part of the register for the past 16 days, and we'll have some clarity about this figure. So it's a welcome development. We're all happy that these children are out of the kidnappers' den. How it was achieved, collaboration between the state government, the federal government, and the military. Well, maybe we need further explanation on the nature of that collaboration. Money paid, money not paid. Well, I don't think that's the parents will bother about that now, as long as the money did not come from their coffers. But I think we need more information about how this was accomplished. But like the Commodore said, kidnappers don't kidnap, ask for 1 billion and just say, okay, come and take your kids without getting anything in return after taking the risk. Well, but we're all happy that these children are back and they will be reunited with their parents today. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper also has a story using the figure 137 abducted Kaduna students rescued in Zamfara. We are yet to see our children, parents who will make school safe for learning. Tinubu, Abbas, Atiku, Obi seek release of all captives. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper has that story as its lead, but just above the mast head of the New Telegraph newspaper, NPC, Monetary Policy Committee, analysts divided over rate hike as meeting begins today. Yes, the NPC will commence their meeting today, and the talk out there is that there may just be another rate hike. If we look at the Business Day newspaper, that is the lead on the Business Day newspaper, another rate hike seen as hawkish. MPC meets. Another rate hike seen as hawkish hawkish MPC meets. Well, we'll see how they will address these issues at the end of their meeting. Of course, there will be a briefing as usual. Now, the Leadership newspaper, as troops, yes, the same lead story as troops rescue 137, controversy trails number of abducted Kuriga school children. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, I've just looked at the story below. Yes, two stories there. One above the photograph, the other beneath the photograph. Above the photograph, Edo PDP chairman abductors demand 500 million naira ransom. Yes, the chairman of Edo PDP still in kidnappers' den. Then the story below the photograph, the Patriots submits declaration for new constitution to Tinubu National Assembly. Well, the clamor for the country to have a new constitution is on. The Patriots championing this, and they've made their submission to the president and the National Assembly. Will anything come out of those submissions? We'll wait and see. But the clamor for restructuring is also very loud in the land. Now, the Guardian newspaper, living wage negotiation hobbled by debts, poor execution in states. Here's the tripartite committee of federal government, the states, organized private sector, and labor. They are still meeting with a view to coming up with a new minimum wage that the president will take to the National Assembly, passed into law, and will have a new minimum wage. But the problem is that even many states are yet to meet the current minimum wage of 30,000. And looking at the infographics there, of course, under President Olusegun Obasanjo, 7,500 naira was the minimum wage. In the Yaradua, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan era, 18,000 naira, that's in 2010, was the minimum wage. And of course, the current minimum wage, which came into existence under President Muhammadu Buhari, 30,000 naira. Where will the next minimum wage land? 100,000 naira per month, 200,000 per month for the least paid worker in Nigeria, because things are really tough. But we'll see how the negotiations pan out, and of course, a new figure will be arrived at and passed into law eventually. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, Niger Delta leaders, stakeholders to federal government, pull army out of Okwama, other Delta Bayelsa communities. Yes, to relieve tense tension in the oil region, want whoever killed or stole arms, ammunitions from soldiers to quickly return them. That's the Niger Delta leaders, stakeholders making that appeal. Army urges cooperation of communities to recover stolen arms. As Urobo youths appeal against OD experience in Okwama, Of course, there was also a report over the weekend that there's some relaxation of the situation in Okwama. It was carried by This Day, the lead story of This Day, yesterday. And we just hope that the citizens in these communities, both in Bayelsa and in Delta State, will be allowed to go about their normal duties. Those who have lost their lives, well, I'm sure at the appropriate time, number, figures, names will be put to that, because for now, we are still mourning our soldiers who were killed, but civilians have also been killed in the process of the military looking for the culprits, and that we cannot just wish away. Now, the Punch newspaper, if we look at just one story there, funds, no, that's not the story I'm looking for. Now, above the masthead, federal government plans joint cable protection disruption lingers in 6 countries, while also on above the masthead, $7 billion FX. Organized private sector threatens to sue banks over rejected applications. Now, if we just look at the Nation newspaper quickly, who gets Ondo APC governorship ticket above there, while the Abuja Inquirer, behind the rot in Abuja School for the Gifted. Students do it in the open, headers take over premises. That's one school that was supposed to bring together the best of brains from across the country, but that school is said to be in a rot right now in Abuja. Now, the foreign newspapers, quickly, just one. We look at one newspaper. The Times of London. Russell Group gets most of its fees from overseas. The Russell Group of universities, Ivy League universities, 24 of them, including Cambridge and, of course, Oxford. Right now, they depend more on foreign students to get more of their fee income. And in fact, they're close.
Quarters of the fees
Yes.
that we get come from overseas.
Yes.
British students account for just about a quarter
quarter.
of that. And with the evidence is very easy. When it is time for students to return to school, just go to the airport here. You see mothers and their children traveling all the way to the UK to go and resume school.
So
It's unfortunate.
my heart particularly bleeds for Gifted School in Suleja. This was supposed to be the hub for the best of the best. I mean, almost every child that wanted to do gifted exams, and you were given a quarter for a scholarship till the very end. You were only kept in the school because of the grades. It was supposed to be for the best of the best. It would be sort of like our own Eton or Harvard, where you bring up the very best. But it's in ruins today, it's in rot. I mean, it speaks volumes about how we just make things go in a deplorable state. Let's try as much as possible to,
right under the nose of the Federal Ministry of Education.
Education. Let's try to bring Gifted back. I mean, because Gifted was
The
almost
moment civil servants started organizing government scholarships only for their own children and people from their own ethnic groups. Everything collapsed, like all other things that we have seen.
This is sad.
Collapsing in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Yes. So kudos to Abuja Inquirer for highlighting that story.
Very good story.